2D Dark Souls.
Souls-like game.
And Dark Souls game.
Souls-like adventure, just like Dark Souls 3.
Kind of 2D Souls-like game.
What makes a game Souls-like? Is this Souls-like?
Dude, yes!
Or this?
Okay, dude.
Well, how about this? Wait, I've got it. What about this? Okay, alright. Get it, not even close. Sheesh. But wait, what if I said there was a way to make this innocent little sweet roll of a game into the hardest, most brutal Souls-like experience since Echo the Dolphin? Well, as with the spirit of game change, where there's a will, there's a way. The term Souls-like has been thrown about so much over the past couple of years that the subgenre has become so muddled with any game that poses even an inch of difficulty that it's kind of lost its meaning. What made a game Souls-like to begin with? Was it a linear open world with difficult bosses guarding each stage? Or was it the classic lock-on, dodge-roll, backstab combat we've come to know and love? To crack this code, we need to take it back to my first Souls experience, and the place where it all began. Dark Souls 1. On the 22nd of September 2011, From Software released their first critically acclaimed Dark Souls title. The game threw you into a brutal, hallowed land with little to no explanation of where you were supposed to go, who you were supposed to talk to, and generally, how the f*** to play the game. Less than 2 months later, Bethesda Game Studios released their highly anticipated 5th Elder Scrolls installment set in the cold Nordic land of Skyrim. And while both games were set in a similar thematic genre, they couldn't be further apart in terms of tone, level design, and gameplay. And full disclosure, Skyrim is one of my most played games of all time. Heck, I built my computer just to play the darn thing. But while I've continuously found new ways to play the same game over the past 9 years, no game has quite compared in the feeling of accomplishment that I experienced after beating Dark Souls for the first time.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
I remember literally jumping off my chair with glee after killing Gwyn for the first time, and tears welling in my eyes as the infamous end credit soundtrack marked the end of my month-long journey trying to beat the game. Yes, all that over a video game. Granted, I was about 13 at the time, but back then nothing had quite tested my patience and willpower like Dark Souls did. The amount of times I launched that Xbox 360 controller at the wall fighting Ornstein and Smo, swearing that I'd never play the game again, only to find myself just giving it one more shot the next day, is just a testament to how empowering and addictive the feeling of beating a boss you spent every night for a week trying to beat was.
This game is like a drug. Once you experience that first fucking happiness of completing a boss, you need more.
So, is extreme difficulty the thing that makes a game Souls-like? Yes. And well, no. You see, some games can be extremely unnecessarily difficult, and it's often the case that you feel the designers made it hard just for the sake of it.
This needs to stop.
The thing that made Dark Souls feel so special to beat is the fact that not everyone could do it. Game designer Jesse Schell calls it the sword in the stone effect. Everybody wants to be able to pull it out. No one can, but they'll try anyway. And that notoriety goes a long way. How many times have you seen an article that reads, "Player beats Dark Souls without taking a single hit," or more recently, "Guy beats Dark Souls 3 using only a banana"? But these kind of feats are the video game equivalent of pitching the perfect game in baseball. Dark Souls creator Hidetaka Miyazaki once said that he wants to keep both the possibility of accomplishment along with the difficulty itself. Miyazaki wants to ensure the game is difficult, but accomplishable and enjoyable. Meanwhile, Paul Schrader, a psychologist in the University of Minnesota, has a different theory, and enjoyment has nothing to do with it. He says our brains are designed to be very complex constraint satisfaction machines. We're goal seeking, and having a goal means defining a constraint on an outcome. Satisfying that constraint can involve a whole path towards the goal that can be unenjoyable, like climbing a mountain to reach food or safety. Achieving the goal releases the goal, which is satisfying. To Schrader, a person playing Dark Souls for the first time is not motivated by the pleasure associated with competence. Instead, it's more to do with the autonomy. The mere act of setting and releasing constraints in a specific behavioural context is inherently motivating. So how can this possibly be applied to a game where, admittedly, killing an enemy comes down to how fast you can mash RT? Well, much like the previous episode on turning Fallout 4 into a horror game, which you can check out after this video if you haven't already, we need to drastically alter the way we play Skyrim, while also making the game look as close to Dark Souls' grim and sombre tone as possible. We'll begin once again by altering the game's atmosphere. I'll try in this segment to offer a good balance of graphical mods that bring the tone we're trying to create, while at the same time mixing in mods that purely serve to make the game look as good as possible. So without further ado, take a look at the difference. I'll leave each one of the mods used in this video in the description below with any specific instructions if required. For this, I'm using the ominous EMB, Obsidian Weathers, and an additional 33 other visual mods to give Skyrim a look inspired by the Dark Souls series. But while graphics are important for the overall tone, the gameplay is really what will create that Souls-like experience we're striving for. Unfortunately, as much as we can change almost every aspect of Skyrim's gameplay to match Dark Souls, we can't change the level design. The world is already created, the quests already set. But what we can do is offer a new way to navigate this world in a new way to face its many enemies. To achieve this, we don't just have to change the way our character fights, but also the way the enemies fight. See this bandit? On the vanilla combat system, enemies are programmed to find the shortest possible route to the player, and if not interrupted, continuously attack until the player is killed. While ranged enemies will obviously stay at range, their mindset is relatively the same. Repeat attack until player is dead. Yikes. Unlucky there, fella. Now let's give this criminal scum a bit more of a challenge. In Skyrim, the combat choices really only depend on the weapon class you choose to wield. Sword, bow, spells, etc. But even then, it's basically just a matter of mashing RT with the occasional shield bash to stagger an enemy if they're particularly strong. So what's so different about Dark Souls' combat? Well, while it's not a particularly advanced system as far as combat is concerned, it does offer a limited rule set that each enemy and boss is confined within. There's no attack you can't dodge if timed correctly, and no enemy you can't kill given enough skill. Although fighting the Nameless King on level 1 with a broken sword hilt will take a long time, it is possible. Whereas killing Alduin at level 1 with nothing but an iron dagger isn't really an option without exploits or glitches. Each attack in Dark Souls is part of a moveset, and each enemy and weapon moveset can be learned and overcome. Unlike a game like Skyrim, where you can't really avoid taking damage if someone's just dual casting flames into your face, you kind of just have to hope you have enough cheese wheels to stay alive. So changing the way enemies attack and limiting them to a moveset is the answer? Well, yes, partly. In Skyrim, you can never predict exactly what an enemy is going to do. Their AI is designed that way. They don't have a predefined set of movements and attacks in the same way that Dark Souls enemies do. So what mods exactly could even change this? Well, a couple to be honest. I'm using Ultimate Combat and Wildcat, which both alter the enemy combat AI and also changes the way the player fights as well. Take a look at how the same bandit approaches combat now. And now, with the addition of some animation mods along with TK dodge, lock on, mortal enemies, and critical hit, backstab and parry, let's see how we fare against our
Criminal scum.
friend this time. Pretty close, right? But we're not done there. Throw a plethora of mods in that alter the heads up display like Skyhood, Soul's quick menu, floating damage and health bars, and now we've really turned Skyrim into the closest thing to a Dark Souls experience possible. And yes, all of this can be played using a controller mapped to the exact controls that you would expect playing a Dark Souls or Bloodborne. I'll leave the details for that mod in the description as well if you're interested. Okay, so I know I said I was done, but there's one last thing that I mentioned at the start of the video that makes for a big part of the Dark Souls experience, and that's level design. Remember when I said that we couldn't change Skyrim's level design? Well, while that is true, we can offer an alternative instead. Introducing Darkend. Darkend is a new world filled with enemies and a whole new story. There's no game quest, no hand-holding, and is clearly heavily inspired by the Dark Souls games. In Darkend, you travel to a new island of Pharos and explore its many detailed environments. This mod has bosses with new arenas, new weapons, armors, enemies, and most of all, fantastic level design that mimics that which you would find in Dark Souls. With the visual mods, gameplay, sounds, animation and HUD mods, this is the closest thing to a Dark Souls experience in Skyrim you could possibly get. And yes, there's quite a bit of depth to some of these mods. Yes, it's quite complex. And yes, it would probably take you less time to just download and play Dark Souls for yourself. But let's be honest, it's a lot more fun this way.